And there we go. We're back again for another episode of Friday Night Counter Attack. And once again, we've got another guest joining us. But this one is a guest that I've known him for a long time, but we've not actually met due to the whole lockdown circumstances. So I'd like to welcome Liam to our podcast. And Liam, unfortunately, is a Manchester City fan. So we're going to have a fun time talking about Manchester United and Manchester City. Liam, thank you very much for joining the podcast today. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. It's nice to see you, and hopefully we're all doing well in lockdown at the moment. Vish, how are you doing? It's good to see you back.
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm glad to be back. Just been a busy few weeks. You know, it's good being listening to you guys, and you know, you've all been doing a really good job. But yeah, Liam's a Man City fan. I don't like that. Don't like that.
They do exist. It's just we don't know many of them, and I'm glad to know just the one of them. But he's a very nice Man City fan, so he'll go easy on us today, unless we don't go easy on him. But I'm easy on everyone, which is perfectly fine. But no, thanks for that, Vish. It's just the fact that everyone's been in lockdown, so the guests that we've had have been very open to talking to us, which has been really positive. And it's been a very different podcast we've been having recently, because a lot of people are used to the six of us being on, having our laughs and our jokes and talking about whatever we want to, which is fine. But having guests on has been another more of a Q&A type thing, which has been nice, but it's not obviously the same. We're missing people when it's not. It's just different things, and I've been quite open to it. Quite nice to listen back to them as well, which is really good. So let's get the cat out of the bag straight away. Liam, how many points ahead of Man City at the moment?
5 points on United, the game in hand.
Game in hand as
well.
well.
Yeah, keep your eyes on that.
It's okay.
Game in hand, so 8 points hopefully come next Wednesday.
Is that when your game in hand is next week?
Yeah, I think it's the 17th against Everton. Wednesday 17th.
Oh, Everton! If only they saved that last-minute goal. The Calvert-Lewin goal for Man City next week. That would be ideal, but Guardiola's got your team playing, and the players that you've got missing, you don't even miss them at all, because you've got Gundogan, the best version of Gundogan I've seen in a long time, which is brilliant. Everyone's buzzing about Phil Foden, and for me, I'm a really big fan of Ruben Dias as well. I really think he's a heir apparent to Vincent Kompany, which again is really annoying because it's so nice to see Man City concede a lot more goals last season when Kompany wasn't there. But what are your thoughts so far about Man City this season? Are we getting ahead of ourselves with Man City already one hand on the trophy, or is it more along the lines of just got to play the patient game so far?
I think you'd say there was one hand on the trophy at the minute, purely because of the fact that Guardiola's seen it out. He's done it before. But it's a funny season, so you never know what's going to happen. Like, Liverpool lost 7-2 to Aston Villa. We lost 5-2 to Leicester. Anything can happen. It's proven it's been a funny season, so we'll see what happens. But you'd like to think now this is one hand on the trophy, and if we win our game against Everton, I think now that would be probably seen out. But we've got European football coming, so that might add a bit of change to the fixture list. So we'll see. But yeah, you'd like to think so. It's more or less done just now, because Guardiola's he's proven tested. We've done this before twice at City, so I suggest. Yeah, I think it would be done just more or less.
I think it's strange as well, because you've got Mönchengladbach in the Champions League, but you're going to be going to Hungary for that as well. So that might be a bit of an odd situation. Again, you're not going to Mönchengladbach's ground because of the whole COVID thing. And it's just great to see that football's carried on in other countries as well, not just the UK because of the whole COVID situation. So again, we're still in lockdown in the UK. So we're literally stuck with watching every other game of football, which is fantastic. And I've really enjoyed watching that, and I'm pretty sure you've enjoyed watching that as well, being a fellow football scout like myself. So you can learn a lot more about different teams and different players that you don't normally see and watch. So that must be very exciting for you to do in your spare time as well. Would you say, Liam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we were worried about was when football came back. One thing I like about fans, but I don't like it about fans at all. It's not the same as football's not the same about it. However, this fixture list, people might say it's a bit congested, but I quite like the fact that pretty much every night of the week there's a football match on. So it's like I said, for scouts, it's brilliant to see players on TV that we never get to see. So I quite like it. I don't mind it like this. I hope when it comes back, when fans are allowed in stadium again, that we're allowed to watch the fixture list remain the same. I like the fact that Tuesday night we can play a Premier League game or whatnot. So,
and even with us, like watching us, Man United play every other game is fantastic. I mean, some games are winning 9-0, and that was an amazing game to watch, Fish. But literally, since our last podcast last week, we played 2 different times, I think, 9-0 and then drew 3-3. So we're always rather really happy about winning such an amazing result, and then heartbreak and not really talking to anyone for a whole day after drawing 3-3. So our emotions just change left, right, and centre. And it's funny to see how the life of a football fan is in this pandemic as well, because you can't really go to the ground, you can't really do much, and besides just watching the game and seeing the reaction on social media. I'm not a big fan of that personally, but the guys on our podcast are very fond of that, especially Salim. If I introduce Salim to the podcast, how are we doing, Salim? You okay?
Yeah, not bad. I just got stuck. It's been snowing quite a bit outside, and I was just coming home from somewhere, and yeah, I just got a bit. It was just a bit slow because of the snow, if anything.
Nah, that's understandable. Yeah. Snow's normal for us in the north. I can say that now, being a northerner, which is funny.
Yeah, it's snowing quite a lot here, actually.
Nah, it's crazy. But no, Salim, we're just introducing Liam to the podcast, and he's just telling us about how Man City probably have one hand on the trophy. And Salim is one of the guys that literally just rinses us whenever Man City do well or Man United do bad. And so you've got a fellow supporter there, which is not, he's an Aston Villa fan, but he's a fellow supporter of.
I don't mind Man City.
You're a big fan.
I'd say Manchester's blue. I'd put that out there. Oh, I'd say they're a big team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It's all well and good. It's all okay.
I was going to ask Liam a question, actually. I was going to say, like, how do you feel after, like, last night's victory against Liverpool, 4-1 at Anfield? You haven't won there since 2003. You must have had a few drinks after that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, we got the penalty, and I instantly knew we're going to miss this because we've got a curse there, and he didn't hit the target. Previously, I think Kevin De Bruyne hit it over the past the post, and then
it was Mahrez the last time. He skied it.
That was in the 85th minute as well, wasn't it? Like towards the end of the game.
Yeah, it been game over. It'd been over. It'd been 1-1 with the curse. So we missed that, and I thought, there we go. And then it was quite a poor performance first half from us, but luckily they were just as bad, so it was okay. We got into the second half, and then we scored a goal. Quite fortunate, and then they got that penalty, which I thought was a bit soft, but it's Salah in it, so it was clumsy from Diaz, but it was a soft penalty.
Yeah, I think
so. It, and then the thing is, could we miss the penalty, and then our Diaz, who's been faultless all season, makes a mistake and then gives away a penalty? I thought, typical. This is just going to wait for the goal now. We're going to draw this or lose, and then that goal just sort of sparked Foden, and he just turned into a next level player. And he just and then that second goal where he took it down the back to the byline, past Henderson and past Robertson, was just phenomenal. And then from there on in, Alisson was shut. Don't know what he was thinking. And we went on to shut the game, but it was mad because I didn't think it was going to happen, especially 4-1. I thought it'd been a lot tighter than that.
Oh, sorry. I think I just put something there. Like at the start of the season, a lot of people were saying, like, Pep's finished. Like, because I think you guys were winning like 1-0. Like you weren't really like playing like amazing football. I think it clicked in that Chelsea game, the 3-0. Like that's when I think it clicked for you lot, and you just looked like better than the Centurions as well at the moment. The football that's being played, like, and that's without your two best players, Aguero and De Bruyne. You've got like De Bruyne probably like top two players in the league. Aguero obviously probably the best striker to have played in the league, arguably. And you've got neither of them there, and you're still like you're playing without a striker effectively, and just the results and the way you're playing is, I don't think anyone can catch you. I think the title's yours, but I think it's interesting to see how you'll do in Europe.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that Chelsea game was the catalyst for the performances onwards. I think the security we've got with Diaz at the back, knowing that we can go into games and probably won't concede, is a massive safety net. I think there's always that caution with us attacking that we might get countered and concede a goal. I think that's been going on for City since company left. So I think that Chelsea game was a real statement of intent. We had Aguero, played Kevin De Bruyne that false nine, and it just was unbelievable. The performance, the whole night, and it's unbelievable. So yeah, I think that was the catalyst that sort of kicked on and it sent us into new heights this season. I think you're right, but I think that this team's a better team overall than Centurion. Whether they'll go on to well, they won't become mathematically actually beat the 100 points, but yeah, I think they're a lot better team. Yeah. And in Europe, we're a funny team. We're a funny team in Europe because we'll do so well in the group stages, and we'll start in that next round. We'll do fine. Get to the quarterfinal, Pep will just start playing mad formations and tactics.
Yeah, it's like he gets to like the biggest game of the season, and you just like trial and error something new, and it's like just do your normal thing, it's like you don't even have to put a surprise out there. You just play your normal team, and they know what you're going to do every time, and you'll still beat them because you're that good.
Yeah,
it's just sad that obviously David Silva didn't get one with you lot before you went. Like,
and company,
he deserved one. Well,
definitely company.
Well, and Torre, you can say as well, but especially David Silva, like. I can't believe he's left, and you've got Foden, a ready-made replacement. Like Foden's a bit different. People don't realize how like so quick he is actually,
and strong.
He's quite.
He was really strong yesterday. For a nimble fellow, he's really strong.
As the Stockport Messi or whatever he's called.
Stockport Iniesta.
a Stockport McGinn or something like that. Yeah, he's quite good.
The crazy thing is, he's, not,
Oh man,
We'll have
he's only 20 years old, so yeah, he's only 20 years old, so like he's got a long road ahead of him, and him playing like the way he is at this age, it's scary, man. As a United fan, to see Foden do that.
You can play anywhere. You play centre mid, you play number 6, number 8, you play wide, you play false 9.
Yeah, he played false 9 last
that
time.
Intelligent. Yeah, you can play on the left, on the right, you play more deep positions, and he adapts. And I said he's not the biggest lad, but he holds his own. He holds his own quite well. Fabinho had to take him out because he just outmuscled Fabinho. He outmuscled Henderson and Robinson to get the second goal. He's an enigma because he doesn't look that fast and he doesn't look that strong.
He's one of those players that scouts would be like, oh yeah, he'll be okay in a couple of years. You have to let him develop, but he's just doing it right now. And I said early in this season, I probably didn't say it on the podcast, but one of the guys on here who was like, oh, Phil Foden will do really well under Guardiola. But I was like, on the flip side, look at players like Mario Götze, who was under Pep Guardiola, and Bojan, who were under Pep Guardiola, who didn't hit the heights because they didn't buy into his philosophy. And annoyingly, like Vish, we're going to see this for years to come as Man United fans, but as an England fan, it's so exciting to see him develop. And we always forget that Raheem Sterling has done so well since Guardiola's been under, being his manager. And it's the same for Phil Foden. He'll get the best out of him, and it'll be something that you could be blessed with a generational talent, like a genuine generational talent, because you don't see many of them at the moment coming through from England, which is really good. And I really hope that this could be something, the start of something special for Phil Foden. Again, as an England fan, not as a Man United fan, as an England fan.
I'd add one thing there. It's like everyone keeps saying this whole like generational talent thing, and they need to stop comparing him to people like Saka and Martinelli and Hudson-Odoi. Like this guy's like a different, like it's just a different level to them guys. He's
outgrown them
comparisons. Yeah, but they need to stop those comparisons. Like Greenwood and all this stuff. He's on the next level. He's proved it. He's on the next level. He just didn't get enough game time. That was all it was. I'd say. I think with David Silva and them there, I think he probably deserved. I think City could have done a better job to bed him in last season, as in sort of played him more than he did. But in the end, it's worked out, so it doesn't matter.
But Liam, would you say that this is probably the best plan because we're seeing the best of him now, as opposed to him being overplayed last season or the season before? Would you say that, or would you kind of agree with Salim there?
I would agree maybe 6 months ago, but I think if you look back since Pep's been at City, you'll see that he took time bedding Sané and took time bedding Silva in. And people say, well, why is he not playing? Because when they come on, they do something that makes things happen, but he weren't starting games. And I got to a point where with Foden come on, he was amazing. And obviously being a local lad as well, we watch him every week. But Pep's got a knack of just finding the right times when to put players in. But I was on the fence of like frustration with the Foden situation because, like you said, he is a generational talent. He's going to be up there with the best of the best. So we want to see him play all the time. But yeah, I think I'd probably agree now that he probably did the right thing in taking his time with Foden and making sure he didn't get too much football. And I think Solskjaer's doing the same thing with Greenwood. I think Greenwood's being managed quite well in terms of his game time. Not playing every week, coming on, doing his thing. I think it's good for young players. I think the best example of overturning players is Michael Owen.
Yes.
Remember, he won the Ballon d'Or at 21 years old in 2001. And by in 2004, his hamstrings were gone. And he was playing football every week for Liverpool in every competition since he was 17. So I get it, and it's paying off now with Foden. We could have criticised Pep if it didn't come off, but I think it is. So, but yeah, I think I was in two minds about whether or not we were leaving it too long to see Phil come in the first team on a regular basis.
That's really well put as well, and a lot of people forget you want to see your local talents play as much as possible. And I get annoyed when, like, I think my friends have annoyed me about this. Like, I don't like Chelsea at all, but I get annoyed when Chelsea youngsters or Arsenal youngsters don't play as much, and I don't even support them because I just want to keep seeing the new blood coming through, and I'm really fascinated by it. But you just put it into perspective there. Michael Owen did so well at a young age, and he was finished by the time he went to Newcastle, basically. Obviously, he scored that last-minute winner against Man City at Old Trafford, but I was going to throw that in there when you said Michael Owen. You knew it was going to happen. But yeah, realistically, his career didn't match the heights it were when he was a young young player coming through. And that's something that really annoys me as well, because some players can keep it going, like Wayne Rooney or Cristiano Ronaldo or Sergio Aguero, prime example as well. That's done it every season, year in, year out. And it's really fascinating to see how they deal with their bodies, they deal with their injuries, they deal with their consistent high levels of performances, really. So it's just on the flip side.
Sorry, I'd say one more is like probably Jack Wilshere as well. Like he missed a full season of football because of injuries. I think probably because he was burnt out. But, you know, and at one point, the way he was playing, like he was getting hyped up probably just as much as Foden was. Obviously, they play a different role especially after that game at Barcelona. And you just look at how he ended up for him. Like he should have been so much more than he was. When we first saw him, you know, sort of like he went to the new camp and, you know, he played with freedom against Xavi, Iniesta and these guys. And he just didn't look the same after that. So I think there is that sort of element of caution when you're blooding in sort of youngsters. But I think, yeah, it's worked out for Foden in the end.
I'd say yesterday that was Foden's Xavi Iniesta moment. He did it against the champions of England at their home. And he was amazing. And his come of age, really. Which is probably, I think I want to move on from this Man City topic. Salim's enjoying it a bit too much, just like Liam. But before we move on, we always do like a 5-a-side, 6-a-side type thing. So we've got a Man City 6-a-side all-time list. So Liam, do you want to start us off with your all-time Man City 6-a-side list?
6-a-side all-time, what? Past and present?
Past and present, yeah.
Got the Joe Hart. I was thinking more of like Corrigan stuff, but you got or Bert Troutman, but I'll go Joe Hart. Joe Hart, yeah. And then 5 outfield, so go with 2-3-1. So go Company.
Zabaleta, maybe?
Zabaleta's definitely there. I'm just trying to think now.
Would you go for all-out attack now?
There's too many good players. That's the problem.
It's who you leave out more than who you put in. That's how I.
There's a player, right, that you'll be shocked by, but I'm going to go. He was going to be one of the best. Well, not obviously, he's going to be a legend at City, but he got injured early doors. Paul Lake in the 90s, he was class. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Nah, you used to tell us.
No, go Zabo. Yeah, he got injured really early in his career, but he was really good. Really, really good. But no, we'll go Zabba. Company Zabba. Yeah. And then three midfielders are Silva, De Bruyne, and Bell.
Colin Bell.
And then, and then up front, Aguero and...
you've done more than
That's
6.
6, isn't it?
That's 6.
That's 6, yeah.
We're doing the 6 side. Yeah, so you got 2 in defence, you got your goalkeeper, you got your 3 in midfield, Bell, De Bruyne, Silva.
Easy then, nice one. That last one would have been nails.
That's all right. That's the team you wouldn't want to face on a 5-a-side pitch or 6-side pitch.
Yeah.
Vish, have you got any idea how you can combat it in the most PC way without trying to hype them up even more than we have done?
Okay, I'm going to go with Edison in goal. Then I've got Vincent Kompany, Zabaleta, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva. 4, right?
Zabaleta, Kompany, Edison, De Bruyne, David Silva. So you got one more.
Aguero.
Easy.
Can't count today.
Yeah, has to be.
Just rolls off the tongue. Go on, Salim, you can have a go.
Yeah, so for me, it'd be Edison in net, Company in front of him. And then I'd have David Silva, De Bruyne, and Yaya Toure.
Oh, I love that guy.
And I'd go Aguero up top.
We could literally have a whole podcast on Sergio Aguero and his impact on the Premier League and Man City, but we won't do that now because we've got more important pressing matters to discuss. No, we don't. But again, that could be something we could talk about in the future. My one, I've gone a different angle, so this is going to be. Let's see how many people get this, rather listening or watching. So mine would be Isaacson in goal. Then in defence, I'd have Richard Dunn, and then I've got Ilano. I've got, if you remember Ilano, he's a quality player.
Yeah,
I've got
Brazilian lad.
I've got Liam's smiling. I think he knows where I'm going with this. I've got Stephen Ireland in. I got Stephen Ireland in midfield, and I've got Benjani as a striker. And as a 6th player, I thought, you know what? Let's put in a club legend just to add to the aura of Man City. So I chose Frank Lampard as well.
There are 2 players I could have put Tevez in somewhere. He was one, and I was thinking about putting Robinho in just for the bants, but
I love Robinho.
So basically, my team.
He was at first signing.
Robinho kicked it all off, and with having Mark Hughes as manager, he probably felt so confused having Mark Hughes as a manager, playing different styles of football to what he's used to. He wanted to go to Chelsea then. But my reference to that, he thought he was playing for Man United. Apparently, that's what he said on 442. I thought there was only one club in Manchester, but we won't mention that because you're doing very well at the moment. But yeah, my team was a reference to that 8-1 that you lost against Middlesbrough back before the owners came in later that summer and Robinho came and everything changed. And I thought, let's throw Lampard in because Lampard's just been sacked by Chelsea. So he was a club legend for you.
I only put Benjani in. Benjani was a legend. I remember that game against United when we scored in the Munich day.
Yeah, Benjani did really well. Benjani did really well. Richard Dunn always gets forgotten. Sean Wright-Phillips always gets forgotten as well.
There's another player, Dzeko. He always used to score against us.
Dzeko
was a good player. Yeah, he was good. I think he's got unfinished business in the Prem.
I thought he would have come over.
Title and stuff.
I thought he would have come over to help Man City out. Probably as a second striker.
I think he can do a job.
Did he go into Milan? Because Roma were asking for a swap, weren't they, for him and Sanchez?
I don't know if they went.
Yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I don't think.
No. Dzeko was class. He was dead underrated. He was frustrating, but he was dead underrated. I remember he scored the forgotten goal in that QPR game. No one ever remembers his goal. They remember Zabaleta's goal. They remember Aguero's goal, but they never remember Dzeko's.
I remember that thing. I was like, oh yeah, they're not going to get another one. And then pandemonium hit, and I was like punching pillows and just upset. But
and he died.
Were you in the stadium? Because you're a season ticket holder, aren't you, Liam? Or you?
Yeah, no, not then. I wasn't.
You weren't.
Yeah, not then. But I remember I was just coming from football, and I sat down. My dad's gone my dad was on night, so he went straight to bed. He's like, I'm not watching this. He was already setting up to see his United mates that night at work. I was like, no, I can't believe this.
Your dad's a City fan, isn't he? Sorry.
Yeah. And then I shouted up saying, Dzeko just scored, come back down. He didn't, he scored, and that's done. And then Aguero scored, and I remember, because I had my football kit on my socks, and I red laminate floor, and I jumped up and ran. My socks skidded on the laminate, hit the TV stand, and the TV's wobbling right back to land on my head. I was like, oh my God. The day we win the league, and we end up getting the TV on my head. And then it luckily stayed on, and I ran upstairs, and my dad fell out of bed jumping down. It was a mad day. One of the moments where everyone will know where they were that day. I think it's one of them.
Yeah.
Proper historic moments.
Doesn't matter if you're a Man City or Man United fan. Everyone remembers where they were when Aguero scored that goal and QPR. Joey Barton got sent off, which annoyed me because that just ruined their chances of defending. And
they defended really well without him. They went 2-1 up. Once he did that, they went 2-1 up. So they defended really well.
I thought it was harder. It was harder for City playing against 10 men than it was 11, because when they had the 10, they just sort of had no intention of going. When they had 11, at least they were open a bit. But once they went to 10, it was compact. Yeah,
Jamie Mackie scored, didn't he, for QPR, that second goal?
Yeah. Good goals, well prepared. But I was dead annoyed about that because Armand Traore runs down the left, and his company's got him square. And Company's caught so awkward, like square on, and he's just knocked the ball past him. And Company would either take the ball or the man, and he missed both across, and it really annoying. And then like Leicester got to push on, the pieces had to push, come across and left in back post. It really frustrating that was. When that went in, I just felt my heart sink, just like, oh no. It was such an up and down season with United.
Even the first goal though as well was a gift, how he headed it on, and then Cisse just sort of scored. And yeah, Lescott, that was it. I remember watching it actually. I was watching that game and the United game, sort of Sky Sports, switching between the two, and then it's probably the best. Like, you'll never see anything like you said. You'll never see anything like this, and it'll never happen again. It was just the situation as well. Like 400 minutes, and then like Dzeko scores, and then they're like, oh, they've got some time left, and then like I think like City give the ball away or something, and then QPR just hit the ball long, like they just hit it back to City, and you take the throwing and you go up again. Balotelli's only assist or something.
Yeah, right. He's only assist in his whole career.
And he just gets when Aguero gets it, and he beats the first tackle because he gets fouled in the build up to the goal. Like, he gets slid and he stays on his feet, and you're like, no way! Like, the angle's going like every second, and I don't know how he kept his nerve. Like, most people have just hit the side netting, and next thing you know, balls in the back of the net.
It was that sense of gravity that you mentioned about him.
I was just saying that Paddy Kenny, that game, had apart from the Zabaleta goal where he fumbled it, was unbelievable. He saved everything. I think Balotelli had a header from like 4 yards and he saved it. Just nothing could go past him. And then luckily he had literally all the angles covered in that Aguero goal, and he went straight through him.
I've literally tried to forget that game, but you guys talking about it for the last 5 minutes is bringing back horrible memories of that day, man.
Vish, there's two silver linings to this. One of them's called Robin van Persie, and the second one is the 20th title. So I can talk
true.
about this. And the third, that was Roberto Mancini's only title for Man City, despite how long he was there for. That was his only title.
Yeah.
And Sir Alex Ferguson stayed another year and got his vengeance. And he got to retire with its championship title, getting number 20. And we bought Shinji Kagawa, so I could relate to my shirt.
I've always wanted to ask, actually, like, you know, that second season, the one that United won, like, was that simply just down to the fact that you were after Van Persie as well, and you just didn't sign a striker? What was the reason for being so far behind that second year?
There was a few reasons, I reckon, and there's been things that have been said about some former players like Lescott and De Jong. But obviously, Lescott's openly talks about how him and Mancini just fell out big time. And Mancini was quite an aggressive person, as we all know. He's a very weird manager. His management skills are very odd. And I think by that point, he just lost the dressing room. I think it was there was too many egos that he couldn't control them because he had too much of a problem himself, he was too angry himself. Like if Balotelli would get away with murder because it was like that.
He had Tevez that went off to Argentina for it was just the situation as well. Like Tevez went off to Argentina for 2 months, and then he turns up again. And
it was the signings as well. Like, you didn't buy signings to improve the team. You bought signings to improve the squad. Like Garcia, you bought Nastasic.
Scott Sinclair, I think.
Scott Sinclair as well. Yeah. You got players that literally were there just to make up numbers on the bench. But when you do that at a club, and Vish and I will know, and Salim will know, being an Aston Villa fan, it doesn't help your team at all. When you get players that just warm the bench, they don't improve your team. And the player that's starting, like Aguero or Tevez or Dzeko, they'll just be there like, my place isn't under threat compared to this guy over here, so I can just play however I want. And we've seen that recently with Man United. Like, Luke Shaw could easily just play another season or two before Tejas came in, and upped his game completely. And you can see that with other players around the league as well. But like with Liverpool, for example, they signed that left back, that Greek left back. He's not replacing Robertson anytime soon. Robertson can have the worst game against Man City, but he's not going to start the next game. Robertson will still start the game, but that's another thing. That's another topic completely.
Yeah, the thing with that second season was he bought English lads to fill a quota. That English quota he had to get Sinclair and Modley to fill that the English quota. And then Rodwell I think Rodwell was a genuine signing. He had good potential. Sinclair was I think that was just either cover or just like I said, fill a quota. But Mancini lost a few key players in the dressing room. The core group sort of lost away with him because of the way he managed, I think. The fans loved him. Like, I'd have him back to City, no problem. But that particular group of it's sort of, they were bought to do a job. Like, that core group was bought to do a job, was to win the league, and we did that. And then that sort of expired. That second season, that sort of had to freshen up again. So Pellegrini coming in and buying some more key players sort of helped us along. So yeah, that second season we weren't prepared for United. We weren't prepared for United with Van Persie because he was unbelievable. He was by far the best striker in the league for about 3 years. He was probably better than Aguero at that point.
Prime Robin Van Persie. And we'll just move on to yourself, Liam. And again, thanks for joining our conversation today. And I'm glad you got the time to speak to us about just your career as a football scout and how you've been doing currently in lockdown. And it's just nice to learn from different people's perspective. And I mentioned at the beginning of the call that everyone's in lockdown, so it's been easy to get guests onto our podcast, and they're happy to talk about their experiences, their emotions, and what they're doing currently at the moment. So we'll start with the generic stuff. So basically, how did you get into football scouting, and how are you enjoying it at the moment?
It was a conversation with an agent that I made, and it was basically that I sort of did my coaching badges when I was like 18, played obviously until still playing now, and then it got to the point now because I'm 30. I thought maybe it's time now to start looking at other things in football, and I thought that when the first lockdown came, I thought I'm going to invest some time in qualifications, in knowledge of getting myself and pursuing a full-time career in football. And that's how it came about. And I had a conversation with the agent and he was telling me this and that and the other and what to expect and stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I thought, right, I'll do the FA Talent ID one, level 1. And then I'll do some bit of research. And I thought, yeah, I love this. Imagine being a day job. Your day job is to walk out into the field and watch football. Also, I do coaching as well. So I was imagining I want to make a full-time career of scouting and coaching, so 2 part-times to make a full-time role. So I thought, I'm just going to, all this time we've got now in Iran, to invest into it and just do everything I can to network with people, speak to different coaches, speak to different clubs, fellow scouts, fellow coaches, and just build a network really, and trying to get as far as I can, as quickly as I can with the knowledge I have. And it's, to be fair, it snowballed so quickly. Like, it was mad. It's crazy how things snowball. But yeah, the reason why it's what a full-time football, and that was the sort of fire that sort of wanted me to do well and stuff, and network and build a big understanding of the game in a different sort of way. From playing, just coaching and scouting, 3 different aspects of the game. Where you look
Did
at
you ever
things
play,
differently.
Liam? Sorry to interrupt. Did you ever play as like a semi-pro or anything like that?
No, never played. No, not really. I played at a really good standard. Some of them were semi-pro, but because I had a child, I was 25 and I had a son, so I sort of dipped away from football quite a bit from that point in terms of coaching and playing. But some of the lads that I played with at the time in the clubs were semi-pro, but they were at the same pro team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They were the same pro team, but some players were, some players got paid, some players didn't. Yeah, when I went to college and stuff, we entered into so we played against like Bolton's academy, FC United's academy. We played quite a good standard of football, and I have a claim to fame. Like I scored like an unbelievable goal from left back against Bolton. Honest to God, I'll never hit a ball so sweet in all my life. But yeah, I played at quite a good level, but I was never good enough really to make it as a pro. Probably wasn't good enough to make a national league sort of standard or anything like that. But that was okay.
So before we move on, you still need to talk us through that amazing goal. You can't just leave us hanging like that. So how did you score your amazing goal from left back?
Rumour has it was a cross, right? But it wasn't.
Yeah.
The ball, so I'm left-footed, so I was a goalkeeper until I was about 14, 15. And then I played at the left because I was left-footed. We put me left back, and then I never went back in ever since. So I always did left back or left mid just because I was left-footed. And I remember the ball. The ball came in from the right, headed out, and that was like sort of on the corner of the box, but about 5 yards away from it, and I just sort of hit it first time. Like it just went straight across the keeper into the top corner. I'll never hit a ball like it again in my life. I haven't, and that was like 12 years ago.
I still don't believe that you're as old as you say you are. We're not going to mention your age on the podcast, but you still don't look that old to me. It's
a compliment, man.
It's definitely a compliment. I'm not trying to make fun or anything. It's probably the tattoos as well, making you feel a lot younger as well.
Yeah, I got loads of them.
That's so okay. So yeah, that was kind of like with me basically. Just in lockdown, I changed jobs, and I didn't want to be at a place where your manager just belittles your mental health every day, and nothing you ever do is good enough. So that's why I wanted to follow my passion, and it's a similar route to yourself. So I did the scouting courses, and I did as much as I could whilst we weren't in lockdown, and then lockdowns happened again and again. And it's a nice thing because over the last couple of weeks, I've realized how Salim and I have been talking to different guests from different areas of football. So we've kind of given like free career advice to people listening to our podcast, how to become a football coach, how to become a referee, and with this one, how to become a football scout. And you've already kind of hit the nail on the head. But is football scouting for everyone, would you say? Would you say everyone's got a chance to get into it? Because you've had struggles getting into coaching. And would you say scouting is probably a lot easier to get into as well, from like the beginning to middle stage?
Yeah. I think working football alone in any aspect of the game is very difficult. And a lot of the talent and knowledge will take you to a door, but it won't open it. You've got to know the right people. It is simple as that. If you want to be a scout or a coach or a referee or the network, it's the best advice you can give anyone that wants to work in football. Make sure you speak to people, as many people as you can. It doesn't matter whereabouts they are, if they're working or not. I spoke to so many different people, and I say that would be the best. Invest in your knowledge and your qualifications because you will need them. But if I can say the biggest advice would be a network. Speak to people, because it's even if it's just if they're aware of, like the roles that got me started was because I knew someone. Nothing to do with what I knew. It had nothing to do with my reputation as a scout. It was purely because I knew someone, and I happened to live close to an area that suited this club. So that's what I'd say. It's just network, speak to as many people, listen to as many people, take on board and listen to what they've got to say, and just put your own head spin on it.
Brilliant. That's a really well way of putting it as well, Liam. And I just wanted to know personally from yourself, like you've literally scouted in the Football League previously as well. And do you ever get that feeling where you found a player and you see them on TV or you see them on a team sheet and you're like, I saw this player at this age and now he's doing this? Or is it still too early in that development stage at the moment?
There's one player that I watched, and he's just moved into Milan for $1 million. He's 16 years old.
What?
Yeah, crazy. Name's he's an Irish lad, second. I can't remember his name. I'll Google it a second. But he's Irish lad, 15. Well, he's 15 or 16 now. I watched Ireland under 15s play England under 15s last January.
Okay.
Ireland beat England 3-1. And you think this England team had like United, like City, and like Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal, Chelsea. The best England lads under 15 or under 16s you can think of, and you got absolutely battered by his Irish lads. Every single one of his Irish lads were brilliant. Two of them, it was two. One I was scouting. One was a midfielder. I think he's got something in place from the Premier League Cup now. And the other one that was unreal, like unreal. There's a left winger, and he just gone to Inter Milan, and a £1 million fee. 1 million at 15, I think, or 16. I can't remember his name now. It's going to bug me, but he's Irish. If you Google it anyway, he's unbelievable. And he's gone to Inter Milan just now.
Text it to us after the conversation. It'll be fascinating to learn about him as well. And again, you probably get that sense of pride of just looking at him and being like, oh yeah, I saw this guy is really good, and now he's at Inter Milan. Because football moves fast. It's one of the fastest industries you can work in, basically. And like you said, you got to know people to get into certain areas and stuff. And networking is probably the best way of going about it, I'd imagine. It's worked for me, it's worked for yourself, and hopefully it can work for other people listening to the podcast as well, if they're interested in this type of thing.
Yeah.
Moving into the football
My mate
industry.
works in accounting for City, so it's a definitely thing. Yeah, my friend works in accounting and City, and it's like I said, just speak to people. The more you speak to people, you'll get the opportunity.
I mean, so what kind of games do you normally like scout? Sort of.
So
which age groups?
The age range, which age group? So when I'm currently, I'm just in transition. I'm moving from another club. But normally it's under 12, so under 16s I scout for. But I mostly cover the Manchester area at the moment in this current club. But when I move, I'll be doing a different area. Mostly under 12 and under 16.
I think it's quite amazing that you sort of get, well, like your job, that you're getting paid to just watch football, if anything. You know, like, it must be quite amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I said before, it snowballed so quickly. I won't even lie, like, it snowballed rapidly. It went from volunteering, like looking at teams in Manchester, doing my own work. I work for a club, I did everything, and I just do my own research on players and teams in the area. Went myself to a few months later, I'm getting paid to do it. Yeah, I've also got a coaching gig now as well.
Brilliant.
It's just things that snowball so quick. But again, I can only say it's purely from networking, because you speak to the right people. Obviously, you've got to know what you're doing. Obviously, but you won't get them opportunities if you don't. I would have never got these opportunities if I didn't speak to people. No, like if I'd applied externally off my own back, they wouldn't have probably even seen me as the CV. I just took the skip past me. So yeah, networking is the best thing to do in football.
I think we'll end it there with your conversation, Liam. Unless you have anything fun you want to add, you can just add it on later. But I thought that was quite fascinating to learn, again, firsthand from yourself. And again, not just looking at your LinkedIn or your social media or anything like that. It's better to talk to someone. And I'm enjoying this conversation even more now, just learning little things about this Irish player that you've learned about. So again, thank you very much for telling us about that. And we'll end this podcast with another serious topic regarding mental health, and this is regarding self-esteem. So this is regarding how most of the country currently at the moment, again, in lockdown, we repeat this every week, but it's just the fact that a lot of people's self-esteem working from home, or little things like not being able to work, they've kind of lost it, or they're losing it, or it's drained on them as well. It's like 30% of 18 to 24-year-olds are suffering from self-esteem issues. So they find other ways of trying to help themselves, really make themselves feel a bit better. Like, for example, buying new clothes, or being active on social media, or little things like basically just they can't exactly socialize. You can't go out with new friends. But we mentioned last week regarding loneliness, Salim and I, like Salim said, like he bought puzzles as a child and has done that recently. And I followed suit with that this week, and I've very much enjoyed buying a new puzzle. I found it quite fascinating because you're trying different things. You're being a bit more outgoing and adventurous as well. But a lot of the symptoms of literally self-esteem at the moment, weight gain is the main thing at the moment. Posture issues when working from home 8 hours a day, not always sitting straight like that on your computer, little things like that. Not eating healthy, like just abusing Uber Eats and Deliveroo, things like that. And another thing, well, this is something I've always done, is just putting not enough effort into your appearance, really. So not looking the best is what you possibly can do. So this is more a struggling time for everyone. But with self-esteem, it's, again, we're all in the same routine of doing the same thing over and over again. But Liam, I just wanted to know, is anything different for yourself currently going between jobs at the moment. You're looking forward to your new start?
Yeah, we am. And I said it, but I won't be able to start until after lockdown. So the situation remains the same for me. I think we're all stuck. I think the whole country's stuck in this sort of weird limbo where we don't make an effort when we wake up because we know we're not going anywhere. We don't need to make. We assume we don't need to make an effort. We don't need to wear clothes that will represent. But we live in sort of joggers and t-shirts and hoodies. We don't need to shave. We don't need to cut our hairs and stuff. It's like
it's like casual Sunday every Sunday.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not good for you because you don't go out the house. You don't see. You need to have sunlight. You need to go out and fresh air and stuff. You need to make you feel like you've done something. When you roll out of bed and you don't really have any purpose in that day, it's not good for the health. It's not good at all. People need to feel like, especially in this day and age where to look the best is the way it is. It's the way it is in a minute. I feel like the Instagram influencers constantly posting pictures of how great they look and stuff, but it's not reality.
It definitely isn't. I hate that. I hate that so much.
And it's like you see this because we're stuck on social media now. We've got nothing else to do really. All you're seeing is how great these lives are, but in reality, it's not. It's not a reality. We don't have that reality. No one does. So you're looking at it thinking, "Oh, I wish I looked like that," or "I wish I was in Dubai," or this, that, and the other. And it's just very mentally draining knowing that we're sat here. We don't exercise because we haven't got the motivation to get up and do it. But all that motivation's gone last year. We've been in and out of lockdown for a year. It takes its toll, and it will naturally take its toll. One thing I think is going to be a big problem post-lockdown is the social side. How many times do you meet up with friends face to face and be able to speak to them? It's going to be I think it's going to have a big effect on people, especially for a couple of months, I reckon.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you lost that. You lost that sort of interaction. Yeah, it's just, like I said, self-esteem is pure. I think the biggest one is definitely social media causing problems, making people feel like they're not up to the standards of what we see in the world, which isn't reality at all.
I agree with that actually. It's like that sense of we're not like achieving anything for the day. That's like something I used to think, like sort of you wake up and you try and achieve something every day, but it's just not the same. And like even just sort of just going out and meeting your friends is such a big deal now compared to how it was before. Like we didn't have to think about these kind of things, but I think the one thing that like I miss more than anything is just sort of just playing football and like even five-a-side, like that kind of thing. That's probably the worst because like when they sort of lifted restrictions a little bit, like it was the one thing that you could look forward to, just sort of playing football every week as well before lockdown and stuff. Like you just look forward to meeting up, like especially for guys, like it's kind of like different as in like how they sort of express their feelings and emotions and stuff. But I'd say like one way we do it is sort of with our mates, like playing in teams and stuff. And yeah, I think without that it's quite hard, and hopefully we can sort of get to a place where the stuff is sort of open again and back, and we can all get back to it as soon as.
And that was something that we would take for granted as well. We wouldn't take it for granted at all because we never knew a pandemic was going to happen. But if we look at like a normal week before COVID and everything happened, we were just there like, oh yeah, we play every Friday. We'd know we'd see each other. We'd know we'd still have a conversation with one another. And Liam, that's why we started this podcast together, like 6 of us, because we're all five-a-side mates basically. And now we've all just been shuttered away in our houses and our flats and stuff. And we can't see each other. We can barely just have a conversation on WhatsApp or anything like that. But I agree with what Salim was saying in terms of you don't really find an achievement. And again, with what you were saying, Liam, as well, regarding you don't really need to do anything if you're working from home or if you're locked indoors or anything. So it's again, trying to find little senses of achievements. Like I've mentioned previously that I like trying to cook different dishes, but my sense of achievement, I'm really happy with. It's something that someone else listening will be like, oh, that's a waste of time for me. I don't want to do it. But someone else's sense of achievement is like, oh, I'm doing really well at FIFA on the PS5. But for me, that's a waste of time. But everyone just needs to find their senses of achievements of finding out how they can feel more motivated to do more for themselves, I would say. That's something I've learned previously. And it's even listening to like friends and family who are struggling. I'm in the minority that's like, again, I'm not struggling because I always try and find different things to do. And there's only so much you can do before you run out of ideas or activities. And having conversations like this is really nice for me because I get to learn more about you. I get to learn more about Salim, even though I've been friends with Salim for years. Every Monday I get to learn something new about him, which is fantastic to hear. And I'm just wondering if you had any idea of how you would combat low self-esteem issues, Liam, besides the social media thing which you just mentioned. Have you got any hints or tips that you would say would be a good way of combating it?
I think it's just try and make yourself feel as good as you possibly can. If it's just finding that little win. If it's something like you said, like just cooking something that you've never cooked before, or something, or your favourite food to cook it back, like just something that makes you feel good. If it's just a walk, go for a walk. Just find them little wins. Just enjoy the little things as much as you possibly can, because we did take them things for granted, and we need to start getting that feeling back again. So I just go for them quick things that enjoy the little things as much as you possibly can during the times, and then I think the world's a different place when we're back.
Salam, have you got anything else to add to that, or anything else you would like to try different, or you could recommend to people to make you feel a bit better?
I'd just like sort of repeat what I said last time, in a sense that, you know, you can always reach out to friends and stuff, because some people probably, like, they might be a bit, I don't know, they just might be a bit discouraged from reaching out, thinking, oh, maybe that person doesn't want to talk to me, or they don't want to interrupt somebody, or
it's like you said earlier, it's like guys react differently to girls, and girls are really good at that. Like, females are really good at doing that. They can open up without hesitation, really. And with guys, not everyone's going to be as outgoing as, oh, I'm struggling or I'm upset. Everyone's going to be upset eventually. There are times in the week when I'm upset, when I'm just at home doing as much as I can do, but then you're just like, what am I doing this for? Or what's the point of doing this? Little things like that. But again, I agree with you completely. Just opening out, reaching out to people. And I told you earlier this week that I haven't spoken to a couple of like family members and friends before last week's podcast, and since they listened to it, they were like, oh yeah, I'm really glad that you opened up and you chose me to talk to him. Like, I'm happy to talk to different people, and this is the first time Liam and I are talking face to face, well, Zoom to Zoom basically, and I've had a fantastic time. I hope it's the same for you as well, Liam. I've bored you or anything like that.
Not at all. It's been fun. It's been good to talk. Like I said, it's just something, like I said, we've never met before. Never met you, never met Simon before, and it's just good to even just have a chat about footy. Yeah. And then, like I said, and then this alone would be good for anyone's self-esteem, just to talk to someone they don't know, or someone they've met but haven't, someone they spoke to but not met. Just Zoom them, FaceTime them, or just talk about everyday things. Like, we have football, it's the only thing we have in common. We've had a chat, we've had a laugh, it's good. So I think this is a big key thing as well. I think people definitely need to start reaching out to their friends.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of that. And even with people that are like, oh yeah, I don't really want to talk now, or I don't really want to have a conversation now, always think about the person that's asking for the conversation. Sometimes they need to get things off their chest. Sometimes they want to talk to you about things that you may not have to respond to, but you can just listen to as a friend or a family member. And that's something that I probably can be doing something better at, because I'm always trying to outgo and I'm always trying to talk to people in a positive way, but I don't always put myself, as much as I think I do, I don't put myself into other people's shoes. So it's more along the lines of making sure that I'm available, but I'm not always trying to push my agenda of, oh yeah, everyone, let's talk, we're all going to have such a good time talking. But some people do, some people don't. And the main thing is, as long as you're coping with it, and we'll see, we could be out of lockdown within a month, the vaccine's going around, and it could be back to normality or closer to normality in around a month or so. So we'll have to wait and see. So. We'll leave our podcast with a positive note. So Liam, if you're okay to just tell us any kind of young footballer at the moment, because I normally do a scouting report, but I'll let you do a scouting report being another scout, and then we'll just leave on another positive football conversation.
One I'd say is one of the biggest names would probably be Thiago Almada. It's Bella in Argentina. I think most people on Football Manager will know who he is. He's like
Man City always sign him.
Yeah. But I came across him from I can't remember, it was FIFA FM when he was like 16, I think, like FM 19 or 18 or whatever it was. And I thought, he's unbelievable. So I did some years ago, I did some research on him. I was like, he's decent him. And then like a year later, City had been linked with him about Benfica and now United as well. And he's only like 19, is he? 19 or something. And he's really good, but there's loads of different things. Like, he's that sort of, I don't know what sort of player he is. I don't know if he's this wide player or he's a number 10. He sort of floats in between two. He's like a Foden, but he's very nimble. He definitely needs to fill out a bit more. He's quite lightweight. Argentina is quite ruthless, to be fair, and he handles his own. But if he came to a sort of a better the Portuguese league or a Premiership, or maybe even like the Italian Spanish league, he definitely have to sort of adapt to game studies, because I think he'd be physically sort of inferior to most. But Yeah, he looks a really good player. I think in the summer he's got a big move. I don't know where. Loads of places, loads of people after him. But if I was to say to one, I'd say look out for him. He could be on the big books soon.
I'm a big fan of the Benfica academy and the way of them producing young players. And I think I've told you this before, Salim, and I've told you this before, Liam, as well. The fact that I like how you see consistent world-class prospects coming through. João Felix, Darwin Núñez currently. You've seen Man City's Diaz coming through, Bernardo Silva, Edison, for example, Victor Lindelof. Again, I've said this previously, I want to do a whole episode on like the Portuguese development in that league. It's fascinating to me personally. But again, if he was to go to Benfica, go there for a year or two, he could then get like another 145 million euro buyout clause and someone could come in for him. They could end up spending that kind of money on a talent like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Liam. So anyone who's on FIFA Football Manager, go for Thiago Almada. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
You'll thank Liam later. Don't worry. And just to end the podcast, we normally do a little predictions game as we do when like everyone's here, but there's only 3 of us, but we'll stick to it anyway. So Liam, who have you got on the weekend? I know you got an FA Cup game against Swansea, but I know you're going to win anyway. You always get an easy German Cup, so we won't argue with that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Swansea in the cup. Who was our next game?
Is it Spurs or someone? Let's check.
Oh yeah, I think Spurs or Everton.
Spurs 5:30 on Saturday.
Yeah, that's a tough game. They're a bogey team of ours. Yeah,
Jose Mourinho versus Pep Guardiola.
Here's my opinion. There's no right or wrong way to play football, but Mourinho's is my least favourite. Honest to God, I've got a friend who's a Spurs fan, and he honestly, he'd be happy. Said I'd be happy with it successful. And at the start of the year, they were tipped to be like a title fight, but now he's like, nah, done. So I can't cope with it anymore. Like literally 10 men behind the ball and then break, and it will only get you so far. It never worked. I think just Mourinho's just a little bit out of touch, but tough game for us that is because they tend to always turn up against us.
You're at home as well.
Are we at home or are we at?
You're at home.
2-0 City. I know I said all that then about them being a bogey team, but yeah, 2-0 City.
Could easily be a 1-1. I think Kane's going to be back fit, but they've got that FA Cup game against Everton as well. And I know Mourinho goes 100% focused in the Cups as well. So I reckon it'll be a 1-1. I don't really like how, like, we did an episode previously about how good Jose Mourinho has been for Spurs, and he's got them to a League Cup final. He's doing well with them in the Cups and the Europa League. But again, me being a former Man United fan, we have memories of beating City at the Etihad 3-2 when he was our manager as well. And we delayed the party by a week. But again, the week after, we lost 1-0 to West Brom, so who we've got on the weekend as well. So there's a hit and miss with Jose Mourinho. And I really want him to obviously do well with Tottenham. I'm a big fan of Jose Mourinho, but is probably him, Big Sam, and probably Steve Bruce. Probably they're my 3 least favourite managers to watch their teams play. And Newcastle have really exciting players like Wilson and say Maximum Almiron. I'm fascinated when I watch their team, but I think it'll be 1-1 for Man City and Spurs. Salim, what about you? Reckon Man City will win?
Yeah, I think Man City 3-0. I think they look too good at the moment. Like Spurs' tactic is going to be obvious. They're just going to park the bus, try get that one lucky goal, and then like literally just hang on for that. And City will have like about 30 shots, and they'll have about 2 all game. And it just depends if they just score that one lucky wonder goal off a counter attack. And yeah, I don't think that's the way to. Obviously, there's no such thing as right and wrong, but you just have to think like I never remembered Mourinho being that defensive. Sort of like when he won the title with Chelsea back, the first 2 titles he won, he wasn't like ultra defensive as far as I can remember.
He wasn't like that with Man United as well. He played attacking football at Man United until his
I don't understand why
season.
he's sort of become this sort of like park the bus person, because he used to hate on teams that used to park the bus back in the day. Like when teams used to play counter attack against him, he used to make a big deal out of it, saying, "Oh, only one team came to play today and they lost." Like he used to make a big deal out of it. So it's just strange how he's become this sort of bitter park the bus person, because his Chelsea team used to sort of score a lot of goals and they were built on like a strong spine. It wasn't like it was just all defense and stuff. They used to have like people like Ashley Cole bombing forward and stuff as well. So it's just sad really to see how he's playing like Sean Dyche football, if anything.
I don't mind Sean Dyche football. I find it fascinating sometimes, except that they always lose to Man City when you expect them to at least challenge them. But they didn't last week, which really annoyed me, unfortunately. But yeah, Man United playing West Brom away. I reckon we'll win 3-1 against West Brom. We've got such a really good away record at the moment. I don't see us losing to West Brom. Then again, I did mention the fact that when I went to watch Man United versus West Brom a couple seasons ago, we lost 1-0 to them. So that was probably a bad omen to say. But I'm really happy with our away record at the moment. Bruno Fernandes is doing amazing at the moment. Luke Shaw's doing really well. Is it time to drop David De Gea? I don't want it to be, but Henderson really hasn't. He's still on his coattails, really. We'll see if he'll play in the cup against West Ham tomorrow. I reckon we can win against West Ham. They're doing really well, but I reckon we'll win. Probably 2-0, I'd say, against West Ham. They've got without Jesse Lingard as well. And Souček's back as well. His red card was rescinded. But I reckon we're going to go for it in the FA Cup. Henderson will play. Van der Beek will play probably. But West Brom, we should win. Liam, what would you say for the Man United West Brom game?
Yeah, I think 2-0. United, comfortable.
I don't know when this away record will end. Just hopefully just keep it going for the time being. Go on, Sam.
Yeah, you look too strong going forward.
I think Big Sam will pull off like one of those masterclass 1-1s. I think.
God, that is a masterclass for Big Sam as well. I miss Bilic, man. He was a really good manager to watch. Like, not so much his team, but he's a better manager than Sam Allardyce for me. I quite liked him. Sam, who have Aston Villa got this weekend? Let's check.
We've got Brighton away.
Graham Potter's team. I'm very fond of them at the moment. They did really well against Liverpool. That's probably why I'm fond of them. And Tottenham as well. They've had some big scalps recently and they've escaped the relegation zone properly. Do you reckon you can take them on at the Amex Stadium?
Yeah, they play some good football, if I'm being honest. Like, I think the XG metric was quite favourable for them, but they just sort of don't seem to score. There's something just goes wrong for them. But I think we'll keep the good form up and we'll probably win 2-0.
They don't believe in stat padding, that's why. Graham Potter's a decent manager as well. It surprised me this season. They've just carried on with their attacking play, and Trossard's been really fun to watch. Ben White, Webster, I'm a big fan of those two. Bissouma as well. I'll be surprised if he stays at Brighton next season as well. Arsenal could really do with a player like him in midfield. Liam, what would you say? Brighton or Aston Villa?
Yeah, Villa. Comfortable. I do like Brighton. I think I like the way they play. They play some good football. I just don't think they've got the personnel to really take them up past where they need to be. I think they're always where they should be, to be fair, but they do play good football. I like that Tariq Lamptey. I think he's going to be massive. Yeah. I think he's going to be England's next right back. I think he's going to jump ahead of James and Trent. I do. I think he's got more to his game going back and forward.
He's one of those players that just, like you said, just had the astronomical rise from being sold for 3 million to being linked with Bayern Munich, not Barcelona, as a right back. Imagine him and Alphonso Davies on the wings for Bayern Munich. That would have been extraordinary.
Yeah, mad. But yeah, I think he's really good. Yeah, so I reckon, 3-1 Villa. I think Grealish has a field day. Yeah,
I'd annoyingly say it would probably be like 2-1 Aston Villa, but Jack Grealish once again won't perform in my fantasy football team when I have him as captain. Whenever I have him as captain, Bruno Fernandes does well, and then vice versa. When Fernandes is captain, Grealish does well. So I'm not bound to win this. I'm not bound to win fantasy football this year, unfortunately, which is a shame. There's still time to go.
Grealish is probably England's best player. I love Grealish. I think he's class. Unbelievable. That game against Belgium, who just literally ran the show.
We put a picture on our social media yesterday of Foden, Grealish, and Mount with like Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi holding the Ballon d'Or. And we're like, it's going to be them at the Euros. And I just want them to do so well. And I want Gareth Southgate to play them properly in their rightful positions. And I don't want them to play to a system. I want them to play and express themselves properly. And that's how England will do well at a tournament. Personally, that's how I see it. But no, we'll leave it there. We just want to say thank you very much, Liam, for coming onto the show. Thank you for your time and for your kind words and for your fascinating story of being a football scout and, again, networking, if anyone's listening. Salim, thanks again, as always, for coming on. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much.